Well, Sarah, spring has sprung.
Yeah, I took the dog. I've been, taking the dog for walks in the morning. And I woke up this morning and I took the dog for a walk and it was already like 65 degrees. And he was like, whoa, man, what the fuck is happening? 2.5 miles later, he was like, no. He came in, he just lay down on the wood floor.
So anyway, it's a perfect day for us to be recording our spring preview. Just as like a reminder, like basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about books that are coming out in April, May, and June. And most of these books we have not read.
We just sort of blanket rec.
Yeah, exactly.
If we have read something, we'll say it. But also we tend to not editorialize on this episode a lot because we want to be able to save the books for future episodes where we can talk about them in depth related to a trope or related to a read-along or whatever. But I'm excited because there are a couple books on this list that I have already read. And I'm excited to discuss.
Exciting.
So,
yeah.
I know.
Here's my theory, because, these episodes can get real, wild and out of control, is I think what we're going to have to do, here's my theory, ready?
Tell me.
Is 30 minutes for each month.
Okay. Are you setting a timer? We just have to stop mid-sentence. That would be amazing.
Just because otherwise I'm afraid we will...
No, it's too much.
Yeah, it can get really long.
So wait, but can we talk about... I have a new strategy for organizing things.
Oh, okay. Let's hear.
I think Eric made you do this too, but I don't know that you did it. But he just came into my office and he put it on my computer. But so I use a new search... It's not a search engine. A new internet browser, many people use Safari or Chrome or whatever. I use something called Arc, A-R-C. And Eric recommended it, I don't know, a year ago. And it has screens on it. You have different, so you can swipe and all the Fated Mates stuff is in one screen.
Oh, nice.
All my book stuff is in another screen. Everything that has to do with parenting, all the calendars and school logins and stuff are on another screen. And it has this great sidebar where you can lock things that the regular places that you go. But also keep collections and folders of things that you use all the time on the internet. So so I could have, for example, I have the website, I have our master grid of all the ads that we're going to run. I have our episode guides, all of that stuff, all kind of locked on the left sidebar of this screen. And I realized today that I can create a folder for the preview books and then nested folders underneath. So now I have a spring 25 preview and I have a summer 25 preview because I had some Julys that I was like, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to make sure I save them. And now they're all just neatly in folders. So when I come across a book now,
nice,
I can just dump it into the folder and then it can act as both preview and, hey, Sarah, don't forget to read this one.
I love it. That's cool.
Feeling really good about it. We'll put a link to Arc in the show notes, everybody.
Yeah. One other thing is, if you will remember last time we did this, we asked, okay, if you're an indie author, kind of discoverability can be really hard.
If you're in any kind of author.
Yeah, right.
But yes, especially indies.
So we'll probably have some indie recs today. Please keep in mind a few things. One is sometimes those change, right? People were I filled this out and at that point I thought it was going to come out. So if it turns out it has a different date, you'll just know and be patient.
Just pop it in.
Yeah. And then also everybody just remember, if you are super inspired to get one of these books, then pre-order if you are so moved, because it really does help an author.
It matters. It's hard to explain why. I often see people on threads going let me explain why.
Yeah.
There's no good explanation. It's really about the publisher seeing that there's a desire for books like this. It can really help, especially for books that don't tend to get promotion or purchase from major publishers. So books by queer people, books about Black and brown people, books about people with disabilities, or historical romance. Books that doesn't get, all of those things. Pre-orders matter because the publisher starts to see oh, there is interest here.
Indie booksellers have said if I get a pre-order for a book I've never heard of before, often they'll order two. Just sort of being okay, here's one for the person and one for the shelf. There's some sort of potential here. a good way to think about it is like you, by pre-ordering, could help get that book in front of other people. So we won't belabor that.
Wait, before we start though, can I talk about 2 independent bookstores that are
please
great
do.
and that I was involved with this week?
Yes, I want to hear about it.
First of all, we've talked about Montgomery and Taggart already because you went to Montgomery and Taggart in Chester, Connecticut.
So cute.
Everybody, this store is so cute.
It really is.
I walked in with my daughter and I were driving home from Providence, and I was like, let's take a detour. Let's go to this store. You know, it was barely out of our way. It like added 20 minutes to our trip. And what an adorable little, it's like this sweet little cottage.
So adorable,
like, nestled
in there.
In the Connecticut like woods.
It's like in a little, it's so cute. A little town.
It's like you expect a fairy and a witch to live out there with it. And what's interesting, did she tell you so I went in and I met Elizabeth, one of the owners, and she was so happy to help me and sell me many things. And of course, my daughter, like many children who go into a bookstore with book-loving parents, just started stacking things on the counter.
And you can't say no. I don't know how people say no.
No, she did try to sell me. She tried to sell me on buying her a pop socket. Now, this child does not have a phone.
Right.
And I was like, what are you going to do with this? And she was like, well, I could get this and then I would need a phone.
Okay.
And I was like, an interesting strategy.
But no.
But no. So, but that book, did you notice when you were in there, that store smells so nice? It smells like lavender and
love it. It's
sage.
like a romance heroine, goes through and makes it perfect every morning.
So I like walked in and I was like, what is happening? Why does this store smell so good? And she said, I didn't ask her that, but I was like, what was this before you were here? Because it is sort of this magical little cottage. And she said, oh, it was like an herbalist lived here. And there's like in the back a really beautiful little garden. And she was like, they grew all their stuff here. And then they would bundle it and sell it inside. And I was like, this store still smells like the herbs that came before. Listen, tinctures and tonics, everybody. It was great. I was very into it.
Yeah, it's
As
great.
we walked out, my daughter said, I would like to live in Chester, Connecticut. And I was like, cool. Well, it looks like you
okay,
could work
Rory
at this
Gilmore.
romance bookstore or at like the art gallery or the coffee shop or the diner. These are your options here.
Ever since being in that town.
So
now
cute.
when I'm reading some small town romance,
That it looks
I do make it that little town in my
Jen,
mind. I don't know how it works,
because you
but
guys,
it's so
there are
cute.
like 10 buildings.
Oh, yeah.
On this little main street. And I honestly was like, and there's like, we kept going about a mile down the road. There was a brewery. And I was like, well, here's where all the heroes work. All the heroines work in town. All the heroes work out here.
Oh, my God.
A good time was had by all. So that's Montgomery and Taggart. They are a romance bookshop. And if you are looking, let me just for a moment self-promote. If you are looking for a signed copy of a Sarah MacLean novel, they just might have one for you because I signed about 50 books while I was in there.
Well, there you go.
It was
Perfect.
great. I also want to talk about Heartleaf Books, which is in Providence on Federal Hill. Those of you who are Rhode Islanders, if you have not been up there to Heartleaf, it is such a cute store. It is run by 2 sisters, young sisters who decided they were going to start a bookstore. It is not a romance bookstore, but it has a lovely romance section right by the counter. And a cat, a bookstore cat. So if you're specifically looking for bookstores with cats, this one will do for you. And what's cool about this place is it's set up on Federal Hill, which is the old home of the Providence Mafia. And what I love is these 2 sisters, queer, feminist, awesome booksellers wandered in, took over an old pizza joint. And they were like, and now you get a feminist bookstore, Mafia. They're adorable. They are so into running a bookstore, and it's really a fun place. So head on in there, pet a cat, buy a book, stick it to the mob.
Before the mob sticks it to you. That's a very different kind of book, honestly.
That's a Joanna Shoup book. Mila Finelli's writing Small Town Mobsters. You could just set them, you could imagine them in Chester, Connecticut.
It is actually her latest series is set in the Hudson
Which is
River.
close, really close.
Seems like the same thing to me.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Anyway, I have something else I have to talk about too.
All right, I'm ready.
Instructive information from Eric.
Oh,
Welcome everyone to Fated Mates. I'm Sarah McLean. I read romance novels and I write them.
correct. All right, I'm Jennifer Procop. I'm like, I don't know.
Your part?
I
You're
guess
like, it's too late.
Correct. It's too late. It's already 15 minutes in. My God. I am Jennifer Procop, a romance reader and editor, and Sarah has some housekeeping.
So Eric
apparently.
is our producer, and he also runs our website, and he also is the ad guy, and I mean, real jack of all trades out there. And he sometimes installs new web browsers on my computer, like a man of many talents. Eric would like you all to know, and we would like you all to know, that we are partnering with a very cool new kind of discoverabilibuddy website called Pagebound, which is very cool.
It's really cute, yeah.
And like super cute. And the idea behind it is you go there and you're a book lover and you can like you post about the books that you're reading or the books that you're loving. And it becomes ultimately a record of how you've read, but it also kind of is small enough right now. And I think hopefully will stay community driven in such a way that like all the other people who also read romance novels see your updates and like interact with you, and it becomes this kind of social reading experience online. One of the cool things, though, that it has is these challenges. And so you can head in and you can create a challenge, and Fated Mates has an account. Head over there and join and befriend our account, follow our account, and you can enter the Fated Mates challenge right now, which is reading our deep dive books and posting them to Pagebound. So there's a list of all of our deep dives there. You get awards if you've read, over 5. You get a bronze award, over 10, a silver award, over
it's really
15.
cute. Yeah.
You get a gold, statue. I don't know what you get. You get something fun.
An Oscar, sure.
Yeah, amazing. But listen, like we all deserve rewards for how well we read and how many books we read. I mean, I feel like this is the Olympic sport that I would really excel in.
It feels like as close as you can get to like a pizza at Pizza Hut as an adult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so, anyway, that's Pagebound, and that's very exciting. And Eric wanted us to tell you about it.
Right. So we'll put a link to that in show notes. And it's cute because he set it up so that you can go on like little quests, and like it's like you read the book and you listen to the episode and, talk about it. So it's just like another fun listen. I think we are all trying to figure out like the right kind of like social media kind of book tracking experience. And I know a lot of people are moving away from Goodreads, or they really like Storygraph. But, this is just like another one you can try out that seems to be a little more discussion kind of based rather than just like tracking based. So I think.
And also, if you join Pagebound, you'll be a real early adopter. Like there are not that many people using it right now. It is a very small, scrappy organization. It's built by women. And it is totally not related to a billionaire.
Yes.
And
correct.
I think you'll have some fun at least exploring it. It's one of those things, if you're one of those people who's like, I sign up for everything the moment I hear about it, just in case, you're going to love Pagebound. It's a very fun little place to make friends. But also, maybe you have a bunch of friends kind of spread around everybody. I'm talking to the Discord people. And you want like a special place where just you can all create little avatars of yourselves and talk about the books you're reading.
I mean,
Pagebound is for you.
I just need all the booky places to be for me right now. Okay,
exactly.
So thank you for remembering that. Very important. Okay, so what we're about to do, everybody, is we're doing April, May, June releases. And I think what we did last time, and this was successful, is we're basically going to like just talk about all the April books, then the May books, then the June books. And that way, like, it'll kind of be roughly in order of when they're being released. Before we do that, though, can I mention 2 March books, like, that came out last week that were indie books and therefore like on people who filled out this little form.
Yeah, and I have one that's not indie.
So we'll just like kind of clean up March a little bit. So we're starting is what I'm trying to tell you. And one last thing, everybody. There are so many, normally if you on special podcasting apps, you can look down and like see the covers as they go by. That is not going to happen this time. There are just too many. So I will be very diligent about putting these books in the order we discuss them into the photo array on the page for this episode on our website. But like, it'll just, if you look down right now, it'll be like March, April, you know what I mean? Like that's really the best we can do in terms of that, because otherwise it would be just, too much.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Avon Books, publishers of Annie McQuaid's Crash Landing.
So, Sarah, in this one, we have Piper Adams. Look, she is completely, absolutely 100% without a doubt over her former boyfriend and, love of her life, Wyatt, right?
Oh, sure she is.
Sure. That's what she's telling herself. Look, he broke her heart. And so she did what any woman would do, which is just like kind of shut it down, build a perfect life, and make everything feel real safe. Mm-hmm. So it is when she is at the airport on the way to her best friend's destination wedding that she runs into Wyatt again, who is also going, of course, to the same event. Her flight is canceled, and so Wyatt offers essentially like he's flying there because he's just like one of those adventurous types, and offers
like
her,
he's flying his own plane.
He's flying his own plane, Sarah. What could possibly go wrong except that they crash in the Caribbean, and they're
what could go wrong is Wyatt's going to kill this lady on an island.
Okay, but maybe then it's only one island.
Only one island.
And yes. Piper, the rule follower, along with adventure-driven Wyatt, have to now survive until, they are rescued. And listen, he is taking great care of her. He knows how to build a fire. He looks great without a shirt. What more can you want if you're trapped on a deserted island with this man? But, super safe Piper is now not so safe, and neither is this whole situation a perfect recipe for falling in love or falling off the island and into the mouth of a shark. I don't know, but I can't wait to find out.
Who can say? But something's going to happen in this book, and that is good. If you would like to know what's going to happen in this book, you can read Crash Landing right now in print, ebook, or audiobook. And if your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Avon Books and to Annie McQuaid for sponsoring this week's episode.
I want to talk about The Witch of Wall Street by M.J. Ekin because this looks super cute. And that is, Miriam is a witch with a very prestigious financial job.
Oh.
And Nelson is her she practically lives at the office, right? She occasionally, it says, allows for some fun. Like she'll turn the computer mice into mice, things like that at the office. But Nelson is her, I think, an old high school rival or something like that. And he is a real do-gooder and the wizard of small miracles. And so what happens is these two kind of have a night of passion together at a benefit. And then there's a little magical misfortune, and these two go on a supernatural quest across New York. And I just thought that sounded really cute. And it's on KU. So that's The Witch of Wall Street by M.J. Ekind.
Nice. I want to say out loud that Vanessa Riley had a book out last week called A Wager at Midnight, which is this cute wrapper where there is a widowed viscountess and a duke who's obsessed with her. And she has said, all right, fine, I'll marry you, but you have to find husbands for my two sisters, who are both chaotic.
Nice.
So this is book 2, and I assume the Duke and the other lady's book the Viscountess and the Duke are going to be the third book in the series. But this is one of the sisters who is a weirdo spinster. She dresses up as a man and she heads off to the Royal Academy to listen to speeches on ophthalmology and other medicine, and everybody thinks she's a quirky, strange person. And she's basically fine, I'm allowed to be quirky and strange. And but she gets unmasked at a lecture on ophthalmology, and she suddenly is like rescued from this by this, Trinidadian born physician, Stephen Carew, who claims her as his cousin. And then of course, like, they're stuck in this moment of like, oh no, we have to like now pretend, we have to now like be together a lot. And of course, being together a lot to get over her scandal puts them in constant contact.
Perfect. Okay.
And the chemistry grows. So that's Vanessa Riley's Wager at Midnight.
We love Vanessa here. Okay. So I have one more in March. It's March 31st. So it like comes out, yesterday. And that is Lush by Tania Montford. And what caught me here is that it is described as being perfect for like readers who love like soapy, like 80s soaps and Dynasty and like all that stuff, because I like love that stuff. So it's for the first of the California King series. And we have Lorene King had it all. She's like beauty, wealth, and she had a secret affair with Reese Ashbourne, who's like the brooding heir of her family's sworn enemy, right? So it's like the Kings and the Ashbournes are like, big Hatfield and McCoy energy. And so, something happened. She disappeared. He's like heartbroken and scarred and all that stuff. I don't know if it's internal or external, largely doesn't matter. Scars you'll never forget, I'm in. But she comes back. And here's the thing though, is the families are on the brink of ruin, and they think that they can save themselves by marrying an Ashbourne and a King together. And so now Lorene has to marry Reese. And so it's like chemistry, forced proximity, but all of their secrets that they're trying to hide are also going to come to the forefront. So this, I guess, I was just, like I said, really won over by the description of this, because I love a big, like, melodramatic, like, families feuding type story. So that's Lush by Tania Montford.
All right. So now we're in April.
Yes.
I'm going to start with LaQuette. So LaQuette has a new Harlequin Presents out. It's called Royal Bride Demand. Terrific.
She knows the job.
The setup here is Raina is like a normal person in the world. And 2 years ago, her boyfriend, Jasiri, proposed to her, and she turned down this like kind of unexpected proposal. It like really wasn't, she was sort of like, I don't know quite what's going on here. Like, I'm into you, but are we sure? So he cuts her off basically completely and takes off, and brokenhearted. And she's like, well, I don't know whatever happened to that guy. But now we're 2 years later, and he is now the crown prince of an island nation.
Amazing.
And in order to become king, guess who needs to get married, Jen?
This guy.
And here's the thing, like, he can't just get married to any old person looking to be a queen. He needs to marry a person who he has who he has been into for years. So here he goes back to Raina, the woman who got away, and she has no idea that he's a king. And but he needs like a quickie marriage of convenience. He's basically like temporary. And she's like, okay, well, temporary. And then they get married. And then what happens, Jen?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of good things there.
So that is LaQuette's new Harlequin Presents Royal Bride Demand.
Okay, I want to talk about, it's funny because someone was just asking about romantic suspense, and I was like, I love romantic suspense. So I also find it very satisfying in times of high stress to read about people in high stress situations. So Juno Rushton, who I think like way back, I'd put like one of her books on the best of the year, but it just like writes great romantic suspense. And it's another Harlequin. So this one's Wyoming Double Jeopardy. And in this
Wyoming Double Jeopardy.
Listen, perfect. Harlequin, why are you like this? It's so perfect.
I love it.
Melanie Merritt is an assistant district attorney, and Waylon Wright is a detective, so obviously they cannot be together. But something happens and it sends his instincts into overdrive to like protect her. But he also has to find like this assailant, right? So he's like, I have to find out who did it, but also I don't want to let you out of my sight. And so, Melanie is like letting down her guard, but the killer is inching closer. And so we've got this real sense that these two are like both in danger from, this outside force, but also like, can they figure it out and make it together? This is part of the 5th book in her Cowboy State Lawman series, all of which have like Wyoming, blah, 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 right? But this one is Wyoming Double Jeopardy. So
amazing.
Yeah. Juno Rushton like writes great romantic suspense.
Knows her job. All right, I want to talk about Victoria Levine's Any Trope But You, which is on not only my April and spring list, but also my debut list for the year, Jen,
yes,
because Victoria
exactly.
is a debut. So this one is another one in the like long line. It feels like we're seeing a lot of romance authors as heroines here. Here is a romance author, Margot Bradley, who does not believe in happily ever afters, which is rough for her. And so she essentially, whenever she writes a book, sometimes she secretly writes an ending where they don't get together, but they actually get divorced. And sometimes like there's a stalker involved. But one day, unfortunately, one of her happily never after documents is hacked and released to the public, and poor Margot gets herself canceled by readers and dropped by her publisher.
Oh no.
So she's like, oh shit, I guess I have to like figure out a new way. So she decides she's gonna like change her name, move to Alaska, and stay there for 6 weeks to write a kind of quickie murder mystery. Except Alaska is not for Margot. She's like chased by a moose. She ends up like fleeing from the moose right into the arms of the handsome proprietor of the sort of distant bed and breakfast where she is staying. And the last thing that he expects is to be basically like running this out in the middle of nowhere. Forrest had a dream job as a cancer researcher, but he's home to take care of his ailing father. And he basically is excruciatingly bored by this life in Alaska. And then boom, Margot shows up. And this one's full of tropes. And these two are forced proximity babies out in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness.
What's going to happen?
And I'm excited.
That is. So it's a great premise. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Any Trope But You by Victoria Levine.
Okay. I've got Whisk Me Away by Georgia Beers, which, typically I'm not all in on a cooking romance, but I do really like Georgia Beers writes a great sapphic romance. And I've been a big fan of hers for years. So I just feel like I'm always really pleased when I read one of her books. So Whisk Me Away is about these two. Okay. So a famous chef arranges a retreat, and you kind of have to like apply to like get into it. But people are like really hot to apply because he sort of hints that like there'll be some kind of competition, and potentially the winner could like win essentially like his bakery when he retires, right? So it's kind of like a little bit of a like retreat, but also like high stakes. And so Regan Callahan is one of the people applying, and Ava Prescott is the other. Regan is an up and coming pastry chef, whereas Ava has been like working together at Ava's been working at a high-end restaurant in New York, and these two know each other because they were like sort of in a kitchen together where it was all like really high stakes. So their rivalry is really high, but they both really want the chance to like have their own shop. And so they go on this retreat, and even though their styles are different and their personalities are different, once the competition is on, everything really heats up, including things between them.
Nice.
I really like when it's kind of built into the system, like it's a retreat, but no, now it's really stressful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I think this has a really cute premise. And I like the idea of like sort of there's like real stakes involved too with like, you know, the opportunity to like have your own place. So that's Whisk Me Away by George Beers.
Nice. All right. I'm going to talk about a hockey romance.
Perfect.
Because
do it.
Jen, 3 words that I know you're going to be excited for too. I want to talk about Lainey Davis's Playing for Keeps, which is a woke up married romance.
Listen, I love it. Mm-hmm.
So the rookie goalie for the Pittsburgh Fury, a hockey team, has finally made it to the pros. Finally, he and in large part because this is really important because his dad also played hockey before him, and now he has to like prove his worth to like the family, to legacy, etc. But after a game in Vegas, it's always Vegas.
Always Vegas.
He gets a little drunk. She gets a little drunk. This woman he's with, and then boom, they wake up married. Well, now the new wife is a cellist, which is
perfect.
A surprise for, I think, probably for a hockey player, who is like, he's like, she's beautiful, she's talented, she's incredible, and she's willing to move to Pittsburgh to be with me. And
that's
so,
true love.
I know. Listen, so he's struggling to like get focused, stay focused. She's struggling to like figure out how to make a go of it in Pittsburgh, and like they don't really know each other. And on top of it, there are all these people trying to keep them apart. So will they survive? I think probably so. That's Lainey Davis's Playing for Keeps.
Okay, I've got one that you are going to be excited about, Sarah, which is there is a new QB Tyler coming out in April.
Oh, no, it's going to be so good and taboo.
And it is called The Nanny is Off Limits.
Oh, no, she's not.
And I really feel like it's just all right there in the title.
We don't really need to give you any more about that.
The Nanny is Off Limits.
That's so exciting. And I did not see this.
I know. It comes out April 3rd, so close.
All right.
And so it says, Rowan Kincaid hasn't dated in over a year. He is a single parent with 3 children. His wife has, you know, he's a widower. He's exhausted and overworked and desperate for help.
What on earth will happen?
I don't know.
A very young nanny will take the job.
That is correct. And so I don't really have anything more to say about that because I feel like
I'll be reading that and reporting back, everyone.
Of course you will. When I saw this was coming up, I was like, I bet Sarah doesn't know, and I was delighted by it.
I did not know.
Yeah, April 3rd, The Nanny is Off Limits by QB Tyler.
Incredible. All right, I've got a historical
Great.
that is set in Louis XIV's court.
I wrote this one down
Louis
too.
Louis XVI court.
Amazing.
Right? Because Harlequin...
Wait, tell us the title. Tell us the title.
It's called Marriage Bargain with the Comte.
Yes.
And the cover, you guys, it's like Bridgerton. It's like...
It's great.
Perfect. Wigs, high hats, big lacy dresses. I'm into it. Anyway, this is by Parker J. Cole. And here's the deal. So there's an heiress, Avina, and she needs to get married to a well-connected nobleman to help her ailing father in the court of Louis XVI. And she thinks she's found the guy, and unfortunately this guy is pretty snaky, and he's definitely not on the up and up. He's gonna ruin her. Well, lucky for her, her friend Dieudonné, the Comte de Montreux, steps in and like ends what is about to be a disastrous moment between her and this other potential suitor who isn't a potential suitor at all, except everything goes haywire. And then it turns out that Dieudonné is the one who is accidentally compromising her. And they get caught and they are forced to wed. And of course, he is not sort of connected enough to be the right choice for a marriage. She's concerned that she's really screwed everything up. They're headed to the altar. Their friendship is in jeopardy. Like, this is a friends to lovers that has like actual stakes here. And now she's worried that like this marriage of convenience might actually end in her being too much of a burden to him and not being able to survive like the intrigue of court. So that's Parker J. Cole's Marriage Bargain with the Comte. You are always asking us about historicals that are not set in the Regency, and here is one, and I'm excited about it.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by Lottie R. James, author of A Governess to Redeem Him.
Jen, you know that one of my very favorite microtropes is, oops, he's back from the dead.
I can only click once, Sarah. What do you want me to do?
And extra credit if the hero's name is Sebastian. So here we are, right? Juliana Miles has fled her home and built a new life as a governess, believing that her childhood sweetheart has been sentenced to death for murder. So she took off because she couldn't face it. And now Sebastian is back from the dead. He has spent a lifetime running from this unjust verdict. He is tired of doing that, and he is back to prove his innocence. And who better to help him than Juliana, who was there through the whole thing? So Sebastian and Juliana have to work to capture the true culprit, which means not just going back to the past and reliving it, but also confronting all those sexy, searing memories of their passionate history. And this is going to be a second chance romance that makes people real happy, I think.
Amazing.
A real gift to historicals.
Yes, especially because this is a gothic. So if you love the groovy gothic vibes and a big romance when they're solving a mystery, then A Governess to Redeem Him is for you. If your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Lottie R. James for sponsoring this week's episode. Since we're on historicals, I am going to go back to the Regency for a minute and talk about A Lady's Guide to London by Faye Delacour. And you got this I love everything about this plot. Okay, so Della Danby, everybody thinks she's just like a flighty heiress, right? She's got plenty of money. She just doesn't really have any problems because of that. But her closest friend and business partner has a new baby. And so Della takes the opportunity to kind of take on more responsibility at their ladies gambling club. Do I love a ladies gambling club? I do. So she has this great idea, which is she is going to get their club added to a popular guidebook of local attractions. And that way people will know they can come and gamble there, right? So she goes to the Viscount Lyman Ashton, and he, of course, has no intention of putting this club in his guide. Gambling has ruined his life. Okay, this was even before gambling apps, so I don't know what your problem is, Viscount. But anyway, she refuses to take no for an answer and basically threatens him fine, I'll put together my own guidebook of fun attractions for women. And so he agrees to collaborate with her on this so that he can pay off his debts with the money they get from this new venture. So anyway, I just thought this was a really cute idea. I think Faye writes a great historical romance, and they've all been sort of gambling and, this is the second in that series that has to do with the lucky ladies of London. So this one is called A Lady's Guide to London.
Okay, while we're on historicals, I'm going to talk about Christina Diane, who has a series right now called the Unlikely Betrothal series. One of them just came out in March called The Viscount and the Wallflower, but in April, The Duke and the Widow is coming out. And here's the deal. Rosina's a widow who has absolutely no intention of doing marriage again. She lost her husband. She is very content with her life the way that it is, with the exception of the fact that there is one thing, Jen, that is more difficult to find on your own in the Regency.
Oh boy.
So maybe at a country house party, there's a duke there, and they could just have a quick kind of, fleeting stolen moment of pleasure, right? Here's the problem That's not going to work out for James, the Duke of St. Albans, who has spent his years and years hiding behind duty and sacrificing his own happiness. But now that he has this like bold, passionate woman who like is gorgeous and perfect in every way, like unwilling to marry him, but like perfectly willing to use him for his hot bod.
Sure.
He is not having it. He wants this woman, and if it is going, and the problem is like these two people are responsible and public enough that they can't just have a massively public affair. He's like, we got to get married. She's like, but do we though? Anyway, this one is billed as a very spicy novella with more than 5 explicit scenes. So
fine.
Enjoy yourselves, my friends. That's The Duke and the Widow by Christina Diane.
Okay, I am, listen, do I love a great title, Sarah? I do. And so I'm going to talk to you about Naked in Knack Neck by Lolu Sinclair.
In where?
Knack Neck.
Knack.
N-A-K, Knack Neck. N-A-K-N-E-K, which is apparently a place in Alaska. Who knew? Lillian is there. Just really wishing she could find a great tea shop. She'd like some chai. And she's been sent there to study the declining salmon population in Bristol Bay. She's a marine biologist from LA and totally an overhead, but she, of course, refuses to admit it. Enter Matthew, a no-nonsense fisherman who has zero patience for outsiders meddling in his town's livelihood. But when the local crew that's supposed to be taking her out to see the salmon leaves her stranded, he steps in to help her. So this is supposed to be a one-time deal, but these days at sea like turn into like a little romance and also, you know, some bear sightings and stuff like that. And so he's like, maybe there is more to the stubborn scientist than I thought. So tensions rise in the town, and Matthew kind of feels caught between like sort of this outsider versus right what the town wants, and everything's being all turned upside down. So will Matt risk everything for love, and will their love be strong enough to withstand this brewing storm? So we got an Alaskan adventure, a grumpy sunshine romance, and a great title. That would be Naked in Knack Neck by Lolu Sinclair. I'm going to say it 1 million times.
Okay, well, I want to talk about Kelly Kane. She's got one called Fly by Night coming out this month.
She's great. I love Kelly's books.
She's so terrific. But this is a really cool one. So Margaret Hawthorne, our heroine, is an airline pilot who she's descended from Tuskegee Airmen ancestors, and her family has been flying ever since. And she loves it. She is kind of the obvious next in line to take over the family business, although her grandfather swears that only male heirs can take on the mantle of the company. Here's the deal. One sort of wonderful night in London with like this great hookup arrives, and she realizes, but of course there's no future there for her because she has to go back to America and like be a star pilot and fight to run this company. But here's the thing, Jen, this hot English hookup arrives where Margaret is. And it turns out that he is a corporate recruiter looking to steal her brother away for the company that he works for. What he doesn't expect is that when he gets there to steal her brother away for the company that he works for, Margaret, his stunning one-night stand, is there. And
I love it.
So now we've got like the family affair here of, will Margaret be able to convince the family that she's able to take over the business? We've got the kind of he's in London, she's in America kind of distance situation going on. We've got the whole brother in play. Kelly's going to make it very dramatic, I believe, and this is going to be very fun. So that's Fly by Night by Kelly Kane.
I have a romantic mystery by Aisha Saeed called The Matchmaker. And what this is Nura Khan is a third generation matchmaker in Atlanta. She has a super exclusive clientele and she's 31. And so maybe people would sort of like wonder, and she's single, like, how is it that you can be a matchmaker if you are single? But no worries. She has a pretend fiance. Her like childhood best friend Azar is always kind of willing to like step in and like essentially pretend to be her fiance at these big weddings because she's so successful. She gets invited to the weddings. But then the mystery sets in when essentially a really carefully constructed wedding implodes and there's like a bunch of like suspicious and terrifying events. Someone is taking things too far. And so Nura with Azar at her side are about to try and figure out who is trying to destabilize the matchmaking business and potentially has Nura herself in the spotlight, in their sights, right? So I thought this was really fun. I know a lot of people really love like a mystery, and so I love the mashup of romance and mystery. So this is The Matchmaker by Aisha Saeed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk briefly about Bridget Morrissey's Anywhere You Go,
okay.
Which is, if you love that movie The Holiday, which we talk about every Christmas, because usually there's like a book that's a take on The Holiday, but it's a holiday romance.
Right.
We've got one for you that is coming out in April. So a small town waitress, Tatum Ward, has never left her Midwestern hometown. She lives on this like very cute guest cottage on her parents' property and is like wildly in love with a regular at the coffee shop named June. And Eleanor Chapman is a kind of like high profile, hardworking, professional woman in the city. And when both women's lives kind of blow up at the exact same time, they decide to do the holiday switch.
I love it.
So Eleanor moves into Tatum's cottage and gets wrapped up in the kind of like family drama of Tatum's life, pulled in by Tatum's charismatic older sibling Carson. And then Tatum ends up in New York City in a high-rise apartment. Surprise, with June, the regular who she's got a little bit of a crush on. 1 week in the city might make it impossible for Tatum to avoid not just her true feelings for June, but her real dreams for her real life. And so there's like befriending reclusive actresses, complicated family stuff here. Will they, won't there with Tatum and June? Will there, won't there with Eleanor and Carson? And listen, I'm starting to really be delighted by any book where there is there are two romances at the same time.
Yeah, that is fun. Okay. Okay, we should think about wrapping up April soon. So
Okay.
I don't know how many. I mean, I have like a million more.
I have Nana left. I have one more.
Okay, you're going to do Nana. Perfect. I am going to do then Timothy Janofsky, Once Upon You and Me. We really like Timothy's books here. And so in this one, which is an age gap romance, it says we have Taylor Frost's boss flies him across the country to essentially like prep for her daughter's like sweet 16th birthday party. And like, this is like perfect for him. He is really excellent at his job. But he is not supposed to be flirting with the resort's mountain man of a manager, Ethan Golding, because this rugged, beautiful, perfect older man happens to be the birthday girl's father, Amy's ex-husband. So I just want you to know that I think this is amazing. And so basically Taylor is like, okay, great, I'm falling in love with my boss's ex-husband. And this is really I mean, I don't even know what to tell you about how much I love this. So, Amy is going to be a problem here. Like, right, this is her daughter's party. This is her employee. This is her ex-husband. And so what's going to happen once she shows up on site along with the daughter, and all of this is now like sort of in the fishbowl of this mountain, of this resort. So, I think this is a really great premise. And so this is Once Upon You and Me, a spicy age gap gay romance from Timothy Janofsky.
Awesome. I love Timothy's books.
Yeah.
I also love Nana Malone's books, and she has something really new and different out, which is like a commercial novel with like a really strong romance running through it called Gold Coast Dilemma. And here's the deal. So Ofusua Ado, the heroine of this book, crosses paths with Cole Drake, who will become the hero of this book, for the first time at this like publishing party. They flirt a ton. They're super into each other. They have this like kiss that is for the ages that they'll never forget. But the reality is that Ofusua is a Ghanaian heiress, and like her parents have plans for her. She has already basically been promised to a man that her mother loves, and she's got an enormous kind of Ghanaian wedding that is about to become that is on the books essentially. So there is no room for Cole in this. But when the wedding kind of goes from fairy tale to spectacle, and she is really trying to soul search around who she is. Like, is she this Ghanaian heiress who's going to get married and like do what her parents want? Or is she going to choose this other life where she can like have the job she wants, have the life she wants, have the community she wants, or the friends she wants? In the midst of all of this, Cole re-enters, and suddenly, these two have an option. There is this real concrete option for Ofusua that she really does have to make a decision. And this book is really about like love and identity and like the weight of family and tradition, all things that I love. And I'm really excited about reading this one.
Okay, I know I said I was almost done, but I'm going to just squeeze in The Last Guy You Kiss by Carla de Guzman, who I really love. And listen to this one. So Mara Barreto is a florist, and her romantic life has never really been that great, but her baby sister is getting married. So she just feels like the pressure to like find a man is sky high. So at the wedding, she meets Jay Montanola. He is also single, but he's sort of famous because like rumor has it that if you kiss Jay, the person you meet right afterwards is going to be the one.
Oh, I love that.
And so she's like, well, listen, I better kiss this guy because then I'll find the one. But guess what? I think Jay is going to be the one. And so, is she, I love it. What a premise. So Carla writes a terrific book. If you have never read one of these romance class books, this is great. And this one is coming from Harlequin. So we've got The Last Guy You Kiss. Sorry, I know I squeezed that one in. Okay, April, we're done. We're moving on to May.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Stephanie Rose, author of Just One Favor.
Olivia and Tyler are enemies, Sarah. They hate each other, and they've hated each other their entire lives because their parents were friends. She had to play, they had to play together when they were kids. And now they have like a sort of an uneasy, sort of like a resting state of just like being at odds with each other. But he does something really unusual, which is he invites her to be a fake date at his cousin's wedding. And the reason why is because his ex-fiancée is the bride. And so Olivia is capable of feeling sorry for Tyler. I mean, this would be truly terrible. And she just really is like, okay, fine, I can do this for you. I can, be your fake date for one night. Only that fake date for one night turns into real banging after the wedding. And now 9 months later, in 9 months, they're going to have another situation they're going to have to deal with. We'll call it only one crib, only one set of college tuition, only one lots of things. But she and Tyler are not going to be enemies if they are going to be parents, and so much more.
Oh boy. Well, if you want to read this enemies to lovers standalone romance with a hot side of longing, sexually charged banter, and a broken hotel bed, another microtrope I really love. You can read Just One Favor right now in print, ebook, audiobook, or with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. If your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Stephanie Rose for sponsoring this week's episode. May, here we go. Well, I'm going to talk about the one that I picked up a couple of months ago because I was like, the cover of this is just too good. And that is Tara DeWitt's Left of Forever. This cover is...
I didn't even put this on my list because I knew you were going to talk about it.
So good.
This man has a mustache, so everybody...
If that's not your thing, that's fine. It's not like,
it's a great cover.
It's a great cover. Like, if all illustrated covers looked like this would make me... I would be very happy about that. So, okay, here's a second chance romance from Tara. Ren and Alice Bird fell in love as kids, and then they had a son when they were teenagers. And they, built kind of a life for each other, but then they just it just fell apart. And it fell apart for all the reasons that something like that does fall apart. Now they are divorced, and they are in their 30s, and Ren runs the bakery in... the small town in Connecticut, in my mind.
Sure, Chester, Connecticut, correct.
It's Oregon, but whatever. It's all in Chester, Connecticut. And Ellis is a fireman, and they live separate lives. But they are still there's no way these two are ever going to end up with somebody else. There just isn't. So their son gets accepted into college, and they decide they're going to move him in together. And they do this long road trip. I love this. From dropping their son off at college back to their small town, just as sort of a, maybe we could make this work. Maybe we could fix it all. A real awareness of that.
Yeah.
And so they drive through the California coastline, and they have these really beautiful long conversations and moments where they get to rehash and rewrite and rethink. And listen, they have to get over the past, and I think they're going to do fine.
I bet they are.
That's Tara DeWitt's Left of Forever.
Okay, everybody, I feel like maybe based on my research for this episode that time travel romance might be making a comeback. Mm-hmm. And I, for one, am very excited about it. So I'm going to start with here in May. Time Loops and Meet Cutes by Jackie Lau. She's been a great romance writer for a long time, but this one looks adorable. So Noelle Tom was given some dumplings at the night market, and an old woman in the stall said they would give her what she needed most. But what Noelle desperately needs after a long work week was, she's like, I just wanted some food, right? So, except now she is stuck in the same Friday every morning. Her alarm goes off at 6:45. The wordle answer is always happy. And her engineering job, essentially all the work she's done the day before, is always erased the next morning. So she's essentially just stuck, and it's a workaholic's nightmare because she's stuck on a Friday, the weekend will never come. But every day she meets this very good looking man named Cam, and he appears multiple places in the Friday. He's a brewery owner who is clearly not remembering their meets, the times they meet, but she is pretty convinced that he is the key to getting this day unstuck. But she has to maybe step outside her comfort zone and live a little. But she's also really afraid that if she does escape the time loop, what if Cam is not a part of her future, which is... Hello, so brilliant. So this is Jackie Lau's Time Loops and Meet Cutes, and it is a really cute cover too.
Okay, so this is where I want to talk about a YA romance by Samira Ahmed, because I think you're right, and there's just something in the world. So this is for 12 and up, so you can read Jackie Lau's book, maybe yourself, and then have the youngs in your life read this, and you can talk about time loops. But so Arya Patel, the heroine of this book,
what's the title of it?
The Singular Life of Arya Patel by Samira Ahmed. So Arya Patel, the protagonist of this book, she is a scientist. She's super into science. She likes stability, certainty, predictability. She has broken up with her boyfriend. She dumped her boyfriend because she just knew the odds, like they were probably going to go to different colleges. She knew the odds of them staying together were so slim that like it just wasn't worth having a complicated relationship when she could do this like she could walk a very specific scientific path. Here's the problem. Arya suddenly finds herself falling through parallel universes. And she can't explain, like literally every day she's waking up in a new reality, and Rohan, her boyfriend, and a poem from her English class, like, are following her through every life. Except here's the thing, like, at some point, so she's desperately kind of trying to find her way back, like, from one of these universes, like, to her actual life with her actual people. But she gets stuck in a parallel world that's, like, similar to her own, but not quite. Like, suddenly her family, like, gets her, and she really loves being a part of this like particular version of her family, and she's unable to deny the relationship with Rohan. And even as she understands, like, mentally, this is not me, this is not him, this is not my family, like, all of this belongs to another version of me who is like another person who is real. And so if I can't get back home, then yes, I'll have all this like unique happiness, but I'll have taken it away from someone else who has built this world, right? So it's this like complex sense of like second chance romance, all the identity stuff that comes with YA, and it sounds like really fun, and I can't wait to read it.
Okay, so I am going to talk about Bad Publicity by Bianca Gillam. And in this one, Andy has landed her dream job as like a senior book publicist. So she's like going to take New York publishing by storm. Unfortunately, on her first day at the job, she realizes that her biggest new client, or like, sort of author she has to like massage and manage and make happy, is Jack Carlson, the same guy, Sarah, who ruined her life at university. And so she is like, oh my God, this is terrible. He is infuriatingly hot, incredibly successful, and if she messes up his book campaign, she is out of a job, right? So, and to make matters worse, although this doesn't sound quite so bad, so Andy, maybe cool your fucking jets with the complaining, is she has to go on book tour with him for a month, traveling across Europe to some of the most romantic spots on the continent. So, she wants to hit him with her car, but I think that they are going to figure out this long lost, these bad feelings between them, in fact, are going to make a great romance. So that is Bad Publicity by Bianca Gillam.
All right, I want to talk about Showgirls Rules for Falling in Love by Alice Murphy, which I'm not going to talk about a bunch today because I really loved this book.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about it on a future episode. But you know how I said that I'm starting to get really into books that have two romances in them? Mm-hmm. This is part of the reason why. So this one is for anybody who's looking for a non-UK set, non-Regency romance. This one is set in Gilded Age, New York. The heroine is Evelyn Cross, who is a fat vaudeville performer who is just, the whole world loves her. But as vaudeville is kind of going out of style, she's starting to find that she doesn't really have a place anymore. She's starting to sense that her career is slipping away from her. Thomas Gallier is a theater guy. He is starting a new theater in Midtown Manhattan, and he becomes like very obsessed with Evelyn and wants her to headline a new show, the first debut show at this new extravagant theater. The difficulty is that Thomas really also wants to be a man with a name in New York City, and he knows that in order for him to do that, he's going to have to marry well. He's going to have to marry wealthy and influential. And so this is sort of a really classic historical setup. We don't know what's going to happen between the two of them, except we kind of do, because the whole thing is wrapped in this really fun contemporary romance between a present day narrator, Phoebe, and Thomas Gallier's great grandson, descendant, who finds a like Victorian pinup photograph in his family collection of artifacts, brings it to Phoebe, and that starts their romance down a really interesting path because she is obsessed with doing the research around Evelyn. So what you have is the present day romance really uncovering the past, and it is a really fun read.
That is so fun, and I know that you love that. So look forward. I'm sure people will be hearing more about that one.
It's called A Showgirl's Rules for Falling in Love.
Perfect. Okay, I want to talk about Love in Focus by Lila Lee. And here we have a second chance romance between essentially, so Gemma Cho is a relationship advice columnist, and she, of course, as one is wont to do with such a job, doesn't actually believe that real love exists. She has had like zero luck with the men and women that she's dated. And in fact, her boyfriend has just broken up with her. So she's just like, I'm giving up on love. It's fine. But she is paired up with world-renowned photographer Celeste Min on a project that she thinks is going to really further her career. Problem is that Celeste is Gemma's ex. Celeste broke her heart in college and then just picked up and was gone, moved to another country before Gemma could even figure out what went wrong between them. And so this is not just someone who broke her heart, but the one who got away. So heightened by the sparks between them, Gemma is really determined, even though she's feels these sparks, she's I am going to keep this relationship very professional. She's just going to do her job and make it perfect because that's what's going to help her career. But she also discovers that maybe her I don't believe in love was hiding this the true hidden romantic right underneath her. So falling in love with Celeste again is going to really kind of, I don't know, make her realize why she got into this business in the first place. So that is Love in Focus by Lila Lee.
It's really interesting how many second chance romances there are now.
Interesting.
Jen, and I wonder, we need to have a conversation on a different episode about second chance and why it might be back. I know that it's never really gone away, but it really feels like so many books are second chances now. And I'm starting to have an idea even as we talk. So I'm going to stop.
Why?
Everybody, you'll have to come back another episode because we just don't have time for it this episode. But I want to talk about A Simple Twist of Fate by April Asher.
Okay.
Which is a paranormal. A witch and a shifter get a second chance of love in this paranormal rom-com. So here's the deal. Harry Pierce, Harry short for Harlow, attended her first finding ceremony as a witch when she was 18. And the premise of this finding ceremony is it will lead you to your fated mate, which it did. It brought her to Jackson Atwood, a cougar shifter in town. But fate had other plans, and weirdly it ended up that it was all wrong, it seemed, and it wasn't Harry who was Jackson's fated match, but her best friend instead. And so she flipped and mending her, took her broken heart on the run. She grabbed all her stuff and she beat the hell out of town, which, listen, I don't blame her. Poor Harry. Justice for her. 13 years later, she's back. And she's here with, hoping that this town, this magical town, will work its magic on this half human, half shifter goddaughter who she's worried about. But because this child has fire starter abilities that need to be controlled. Anyway, Jackson is there, and he is now alpha of his pack. And when Harry shows up, he is pretty broken because she tore him apart when she left because guess what? They were fated mates.
Uh-oh.
And not only did her leaving break him, it broke the town, there hasn't been a fated match in 13 years. And so the town is in a bit of a state. And now they're going to have to figure their shit out. And
I love it.
I love it when that has to happen.
Oh, yeah, me too. The best.
So that's A Simple Twist of Fate by April Asher.
Okay, I'm going to talk about His Dark Vendetta by Caitlin Bream. And the reason I really like these books is these are paranormal mafia romances. Hello.
Nice.
And so we have Siobhan, who really thought that Luca would be her like happily ever after. So, okay, her family murdered his father. And now, even though, right, he is like, she's going to pay the price for this. And so she gets kidnapped and trapped by him. And this is someone that she was, you know, this was her lover. This was someone she thought she was in love with. But like now it's like broken hearts everywhere. So it's basically like modern day Romeo and Juliet, except in this version, Romeo is trying to kill Juliet. And so Luca has been given permission, right, to do this, to like gain vengeance. But I don't know, this whole blood demon thing, and he has to, you know, I mean, her blood, I'm sure, is delicious. This whole blood demon thing, I don't know what else you need to know. So I really liked the first book in this series. This is the Bonded in Blood series. It was called Her Dark Salvation. But I just, like I said, the whole idea of like mafia plus paranormal is chef's kiss perfect. So that's His Dark Vendetta by Caitlin Bream.
Perfect. I want to talk about Digging Dr. Jones.
Yeah, this was on my list too. It's like, what a title.
Is such a cute premise. Okay, so Adriana Jones is our heroine, and she is like, she needs to just like, her vacation's going poorly, and luckily, like, somebody's given her a surprise gift, and it's a bracelet full of gems. And so she puts it on, and she's like, already I'm feeling better about everything. Except here's the problem. The bracelet was not meant for Adriana Jones. It was meant for Andrew Jones. Who is a renowned archaeologist who is waiting for this gift. It's not a gift. He's waiting for this artifact to turn up because he needs this bracelet to find an ancient lost treasure deep in the jungles of Colombia.
Amazing.
Second problem, Jen, there's been a name mix-up here, but also this bracelet will not come off of Adriana's hand.
Of course not.
And therefore, Andrew has no choice but to drag this woman along with him on his quest for like this career-making Indiana Jones style shenanigan. So here they are going through jungles, crawling through crypts, and these two are gonna do it in the woods.
Oh my God, we are so simple. Yes.
I love it. The cover is great. He looks hunky. Like in the purest form of, like, I think this hero is probably very hunky, everyone.
I saw that title and was just so delighted by it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to talk about All Superheroes Need PR by Elizabeth Stevens.
This is true. That's a good title.
Isn't that a great title?
Yeah.
This is Elizabeth Stevens writes a great book. This is part of a new series, the Supers in the City series. And this, okay, so here's, so you guys have such good ideas. I love you all. 2 decades ago, 48 young gifted superheroes fell to Earth and were marketed into opposing brands, heroes and villains. But now, which is just like so perfect.
What a great idea.
Right? And so one especially gruff bad guy is looking to switch teams. And so he needs some PR help. Right? So his name is Roland Castile, also known as the Pyro. So he's got to swap out his scary name. Right? Exactly. He's got to swap out his name for something better. Right? So anyway, PR director character, Vanessa, is going to help him with this, right? So she's like, you got to swap out this name for a better one, Wyvern. Put him in spandex to highlight his body, right? And we need to give this hero in training a heroine, right? And so basically, Vanessa, even though she's really shy, gets talked into essentially like being his Lois Lane to like sort of make the city swoon over them, because nothing turns a villain into a hero like falling in love. So on the other hand, everything seems great until a monstrous supervillain brings out Roland's bad side. But maybe this is instead the chance just to save this woman who, against all odds, is becoming the human love of his superhero life. This one is, again, it's called All Superheroes Need PR.
I love that.
I cannot wait to read this one. Montlake,
So
give this
cute.
to me in advance. I want it. It's so good.
Okay, I want to talk about Susan Lee's The Romance Rivalry, which is an upper YA about college students. So Irene Park is our heroine, and she has made a career as an online book reviewer with a massive following. She reviews romance novels. Problem is, Irene's like not so good with boys. So she starts her freshman year of college, and she decides that she's going to find true love using romance book tropes. And that is how it is going to go. Problem is, while she's there, she meets Aiden John. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But who is her online book review rival and her biggest nemesis. So he challenges her, and he says, all right, you're going to find love using tropes. I'm going to do it too. And the first one, the one of us who does it first will win, like professional and personal kudos. So when the competition like takes a turn, forcing the two of them to have to partner in the ultimate trope gen, fake dating. Irene is not prepared for everything she believed about romance and Aiden to flip on its head. So I think this probably is also enemies to lovers. Anyway, this one's about Irene tackling college life, struggling to figure out like who she is and what she really wants, and of course, falling in love in the balance. So that is The Romance Rivalry by Susan Lee.
Okay. My search for the perfect F1 romance continues, and I am looking forward to Slipstream by Madge Merrill.
I was going to put this on. I have this.
Yeah, me too. I'm totally excited about it. So what happens here is we have Lila Graywood. She is a serious documentarian, Sarah. But her best friend and business co-owner and secret boyfriend, Max, essentially pivots their company to filming the Ignition energy drink racing team, which, hello, that is not for serious documentarians.
No.
She is thrust into this world. Oh, and then Max dumps her. And so everything.
Yeah, men who want to keep your relationship secret are the worst.
Yes, right. So enter Arthur Bianco, a charismatic and enigmatic F1 reserve driver who's had a really tumultuous career himself. She is supposed to maybe at the start be documenting his relegation to a backup driver, but together they essentially come up with a plan to essentially take control of the Max's documentary, each with their own motives. Lila, of course, wants revenge, where Arthur wants redemption. So they have this alliance, and then, of course, you've got the glamorous world of F1, and all of a sudden, they maybe have to do a little fake dating so that nobody figures out what they're up to. So this is Slipstream, and I think it looks great.
So S.M. LaViolette, which is the pen name of Minerva Spencer, has a new book out in May called Catherine. And those of you who follow the Bellamy Sisters series know that Catherine is the the fifth book in the fifth sister. And the premise of these books is basically like there are 5 women who are in a pickle. This is a regency. They're all in a pickle. They are trying to save the family estate, and that sometimes means that they have to get married. Sometimes it means that they don't have to get married. There's always like kind of these sisters will do anything to keep each other safe and to like make sure that they all have a future together. The book that comes out in May is Catherine. There is no information about it yet, so I'm just flagging it for everybody because this is the youngest Bellamy, and it's going to be fun. And then I also just want to name check, and we will for sure talk about it. And Jen has already started talking about it, but Alexis Daria has a new book coming out in May, the 3rd book in the Primas of Power series, which is Along Came Amor. So basically, this is Ava's story. Ava's ex-husband has like pieced out. She is left like kind of high and dry, like not sure what's happening. So, she goes out and at a party, she meets a handsome hotelier and it's all flirty and great. And they have this like killer one night stand. And then all of a sudden, they discover that they are both in a wedding together, another Prima's wedding. And then they are stuck together, having to keep secret the fact that they know each other from the past and that they've had this like very sexy time and that they are continuing to have a very sexy time while this is all going on. So the big question is like, will Roman Vasquez, the sexy hotelier, be willing to give up his like no strings, happy-go-lucky,
Sure,
I'm a rake kind of vibe for Ava? And I think it's going to turn out okay.
I think so too. Okay, I have another Harlequin romantic suspense. This one called Hunted Through Italy, which sounds great, by Delaney Diamond.
Hunted Through Italy,
which
terrifying.
I mean, probably someone's gonna have to stop and eat pizza. I have no idea. Okay, so this is a bodyguard romance. So,
nice.
Zaire Nichols, is an interpreter. She overhears 2 men planning an embassy bombing, and so she contacts the American
get involved
authorities.
in that.
No, of course she's going to get involved. How else is she going to find her man?
That's not your business in Italy.
So stop, Sarah. She contacts the American authorities in Rome and instead ends up getting accused of murder. CIA Black Ops agent Atticus Buck Swanson, which, hello, is her escort back to the United States, but a bunch of assassins try to silence her forever. So Zaire and Buck are off on a race against Italy, trying to stay one step ahead of their deadly pursuers. So now it's like they are going to try and stop a terrorist attack and, hold off the people trying to kill her and fall in love and explore their amazing attraction between them. Harlequin romantic suspense is really fun because it's just like a straight shot of action. And Delaney Diamond writes a great book. So this is Hunted Through Italy.
I'm done with May.
I am not done with May. I would like to talk very quickly about one by Sophie Jordan, who is a real favorite.
She has a book out in May?
Marked by Moonlight, Sarah.
Oh, she is yes. I was like, excuse me, Jennifer. She is my very good friend.
That's why I was really shocked that you didn't take this one first. It was kind of like, whatever.
I didn't. That's so funny. But yes, she does. Tell everybody about Marked by Moonlight.
So this is a paranormal romance. Claire Morgan, it says, has always been a shy, mousy teacher, overlooked and unwanted, until one day out of nowhere.
Sherry's real good at this.
Yeah, she wakes up as a new woman, bold, wild, passionate, and impossible to ignore. Gideon March tells her the reason for this is because she has been bitten by a werewolf. But Claire does not want to believe this. She was like, it was just some nasty dog in a back alley, but he is part, Sarah, of a member of an underground society of lichen hunters, and his mission is to kill her.
This is all true.
So Claire and Gideon are bound by a desire they can't resist. And at the next full moon, Claire's soul will be lost forever, or Gideon might be forced to kill her, or they're going to fall in love and figure it out.
Who can say?
I have no idea, but Marked by Moonlight is the name of this.
That's a reissue of an old paranormal series that Sophie Jordan wrote under a different name, Sherry Michaels.
I had no idea. I was like, where'd this come from?
Enjoy, everyone. You're going to have a great time.
Okay. So that was, I was like kind of waiting around. I was like, what do you mean you're done with May?
I'm done
What
with
about
May.
Sophie Jordan?
I know, except I'm not done with Sophie Jordan ever.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Okay. June. All right, well, we got to talk about Jesse Q. Sutanto's new book, Worth Fighting For, which is the next book in that Disney Meant to Be series where they take
fun. Yeah,
classic Disney movies and then rewrite them as contemporary romance novels. So you all know Jesse Q. Sutanto's name because she wrote Dial A for Aunties,
right? Which
everybody loved when it came out. And this is, you can probably tell from the title, Worth Fighting For, a retelling of Mulan.
Awesome.
So essentially, it's placed in her father's private equity company. She's trying to succeed as a woman in a man's world. And then her father unexpectedly falls ill in the middle of an acquisition. And the family and the other company, known for its ultra masculine whiskey brand and the brood of old-fashioned aunts, uncles, and cousins who run it, is led by a dedicated and overworked Shang, who will only trust Mulan's father with the future of the business. And so what is a girl to do except pretend to be her father?
Oh my God.
And this, as you can imagine, is gonna go crazy.
Amazing.
I don't think for what it's worth, everybody, I don't think she does this in disguise. I think it's like over emails. And then like now there's a face-to-face meeting and she's like, oh shit.
I am honestly delighted by this entire thing. I really am. Amazing. Yeah, she writes a super fun book. So that is terrific.
So that's Worth Fighting For by Jesse Q. Sutanto.
And that series, I think, has just been super
It gets
fun.
better and better.
So I am going to talk about Empire of Seduction by our friend Mila Finelli. This is the second in the New York State of Mafia series. And in this one, actually what is great
Set in
about
Chester,
this,
Connecticut.
Set in Chester, Connecticut. The Connecticut State of Mafia. The great thing about this book, everybody, is it is essentially like the Kings of Italy meet New York State of Mafia, because the hero is Vito, which is Enzo's brother, one of Enzo, Mafia Madman's brother. And the heroine is Maggie, who is like the friend of Val's from the first book. And I don't know, this is, Joanna, I'm just like I worked on this book, everybody, but Joanna, like little hint, has said like she really wrote this one for her, and you can tell because it's just really fun. Also, I do not want to give it away, but I'm about to, which is, I was like, I cannot believe no one has ever thought of this before, because the bad guys are a motorcycle club. And I was like, how has no one written Mafia versus MC before? I do not know. So anyway, this is a really fun book. Really super sexy. It starts off with Vito and Maggie having like a one-night stand, and then like a couple days later, he's like coming up the driveway. She and her brother own a winery, and he's like coming up the winery, and she is and her brother basically say at the same time, like, "What are you doing here?" And she looks at her brother and is like, "How do you know this guy?" Then she and Vito had a one-night stand. The next night, her brother lost the winery to Vito in a card game, and now he's here to collect. It is terrific, and it is Empire of Seduction, and the Kings of Italy are all around, and I liked it a lot. So that one
Amazing.
is really fun.
All right, I want to talk about Alicia Thompson's new book. You all know Alicia Thompson because she wrote Love in the Time of Serial Killers, and but now she's got one called Never Been Shipped, and this is a very, very cute idea set on a cruise ship with a ticking clock. So we've got forced proximity and 5 days to get it done. Micah, our heroine's relationship to music is complicated because when she was a teenager, her band took off after being featured on a popular TV show, but the group were teenagers. And so things went real south real fast, and they barely released a second album before they broke up. Now it's 10 years later, and the band is reuniting for a performance on a themed cruise, which sounds awful. Like
You're like,
I can't think of
handle
anything I would like to do less than reunite with my ex band on a cruise ship. And anyway, but Micah's there and she's going to do her thing, and she is determined to learn from her past mistakes and not let drama or anything get in the way. Here's the problem. When she gets back into the band, John is there. And John, who was the guitarist at the time, has always loved Micah. They were best friends. He had this like kind of unrequited thing with her while she dated somebody else in the band. And at the time, he like wasn't brave enough to step up or like take the lead at all. But now here he's got another chance. He's got 5 days to convince Micah that like maybe she ought to take a second look at him. Which Micah's maybe willing to do, except this is not the right time for this. We've got a bunch of band members who hate each other back. The tension's growing. They are going to have to perform. Who knows what's going to happen with this boat out on the ocean. Chaos. Anyway, I really like Alicia Thompson's books, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, so I am going to talk about Writing Mr. Right by Alina Kawaj. And, listen, everybody, sometimes I'm like, I do like the research, and like this one, I was like, okay, I need to download this immediately because listen to this premise. It is perfect. Okay, so Zia Khan is a legal secretary by day and aspiring novelist by night. She writes stories full of the kinds of characters she loves, people like her. But because she is writing like sort of diverse characters, she also has a growing stack of rejection letters. So after getting another like sort of thanks but no thanks letter on the eve of her 30th birthday, which is always, like a real portent in romance, she decides to throw her novel and her dreams in the trash. End of story. That is all there is to it, except the next morning when she wakes up, there is a flesh and blood version of her muse standing in her kitchen.
Terrific.
His name is Aishik, and it's his job to inspire her to write again.
Well, now listen, this doesn't happen in real life, everyone.
I mean, but here is the problem. There is, he's like singing karaoke with her and standing up for her work and, like just like
he's
showing
being
her.
A hero.
Yeah,
real hero
he's
shit.
being a hero. But here is the problem, Sarah. As she rediscovers her love of writing, Ashik starts to disappear because his job is almost done. No, I know.
Happen? How
Isn't this perfect?
End?
So, is she going to basically have to choose between her art and her heart? I have no idea what's going to happen, but this is a perfect premise. I am delighted by it. And this is Writing Mr. Right.
Amazing. In June, we are returning to Sapphire Cove, Jennifer.
Ooh, nice.
C. Travis Rice's Party of Three is a novella. And I mean, this time Chris is bringing the juice, I think. Not that he doesn't usually, but
Yeah.
So, okay, here's the deal. This one is a Why Choose Romance, my friends, set in Sapphire Cove. Buckley Mitchell is a lovely, wonderful EMT who, is just a fixer. He has been really instrumental in a little bit fixing his boyfriend, Mateo Cano, who needs to... who has been sort of coming to terms with his own sexuality after years of repressing his like true identity as a gay man. But Mateo hasn't been entirely truthful about this like complicated relationship he had a few years back with his best friend from the Marine Corps, who saved his life one time, and like maybe something went down back then with Mateo and Jeff, but it's not really clear. But now, Buckley and Mateo are at Sapphire Cove, and Jeff turns up, and Buckley meets Jeff, and he's not jealous at all. In fact, he's like, now how could this go? And his theory is like, I've spent the last year like basically helping Mateo get used to his fantasies. And now what if I share with Mateo that like my fantasy is what if all three of us get together and bang it out? I'm sure what if all three of us get together and bang it out is not a line from this book, because C. Travis Rice is a great writer.
I mean,
it's the line in my head, and that's what's
implied,
important.
correct, and that is what matters.
So that is Party of Three by C. Travis Rice, who is a friend of the pod.
I am going to talk about Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen.
I have that one too.
Yeah, this... Gosh, Danielle, you're so good at the job. Okay, so Nina Ford... Sarah is just not going to put all of her eggs in one basket. Not only because they're $12 a dozen, but because she works multiple jobs, she has multiple hobbies, and she dates multiple men. She's 30. She
Amazing.
has never crossed a man who is all the things she's looking for. So, she's got a man for when she wants to do things that are fun, exciting. She has a man for when she wants someone confident and humorous. She has a man for when she wants someone intelligent and ambitious. And she has a man for when she wants something passionate and romantic. So she's basically just like, more of a vibes type of dater. So when Russell Long, her designated fun guy, though, shows her that he's good for more than just thrills, it seems too good to be true. She has found everything she wanted in a career in one job. Has she found everything she wanted in a partner in one man? And then I have to tell you, in what is perhaps the best back cover copy ever written, it says, inevitably her eggs are bound to get cracked like her back. The scream.
That's all you need.
That's all you need to know about that. So that is Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen.
I love it. All right, let's talk about Mia Sosa, who is back. Mia Sosa is back with When Javi Dumped Mari, coming out in June. And this is so exciting. I'm so excited. Okay, so on the eve of their college graduation, Javier Baez and Marisol Campos swore they would never date anyone the other one didn't approve of. These are best friends. Now, a decade later, Javi has a problem, which is he has had this like unrequited, I love an unrequited love.
You know I do love it.
Unrequited, blah, blah, blah. He has had an unrequited crush on Mari since sophomore year, and she's engaged now. And Javi didn't even get the chance to vet this guy. Like, she's basically like, Javi, so great, I'm engaged. Mari is not interested in Javi's dating advice anymore. She waited around for him to declare his love for years, and he never did. Ugh, the worst.
Uh-oh. The worst.
And now she has decided that she is going to build a future with this like handsome, delicious, Bill does a Pedro Pascal knockoff, everybody on the back of the cover. New man who is legitimately interested in committing to her. Like, it is time for everybody to be grown-up people with jobs here. Javi, though, is ready to confess his feelings, except she's moved on, and he has 6 weeks to convince her that the marriage that she is about to commit to is a flop, which means he needs to get the business done. And done to her, if I will.
Sure.
But listen, this is going to be one of those romances. First of all, Mia is so funny. It's going to be so fun to read. But also, like, if I trust anybody to thread the needle on how am I going to get my best friend to dump her perfect boyfriend to be with me, it's Mia. So,
100%.
Can't wait.
Okay, I would like to talk about a book I am actually really deeply curious to read. Cruel Summer by Maisie Yates. And the reason I am really curious about this is because I think it just sounds like it's taking like some really big risks, which is Samantha Parker is happily married, has 3 wonderful kids, living the suburban life, are almost empty nesters, when her husband Will asks her for an open marriage. Oof. And so this like shocks her. And so what she instead proposes to him is that they essentially take like a summer long break. She's going to find herself because she is sure she has no interest in being with anyone but Will. And then, you know, like they can get back at this at the end of the summer and like see what happens. But instead she ends up having a little bit of a romance with Logan Martin, who happens to be Will's best friend. He is a classic car restorer, and he asked Sam to help him drive across the country to like make deliveries. And they've never really had a good relationship, but something about this summer and this trip with Logan really changes things for Samantha and like puts her in a different state of mind. And I'm just really fascinated by it because I think it is so easy in romance to kind of like see, even in a blurb, like what's going to happen. But now it really is like, what is Samantha going to choose? So will she go to the kind of familiar stability of her past or choose a thrilling, uncertain new future? So that is Cruel Summer by Maisie Yates.
All right, I have 2 more.
Okay.
I want to talk about Joanna Lowell, who I just talked about in the historical episode a few weeks ago. Her next book, A Rare Find, is out in June. And this one is about an aspiring another archaeologist.
I love it.
Listen, a trend. We should do that. Archaeologists. Anyway, Elfreda Marsden has made a major discovery, which is an ancient amulet proving that the Viking army camped on her family's estate. Unfortunately, her nemesis is back from London, and Georgie Redmayne is popular and wonderful and bored to death by everything related to this amulet and the countryside. They run into each other, literally. The amulet gets lost, and with it, Elfreda's big chance to lead a proper excavation because she's a woman. So now she needs new evidence of this sort of Viking activity, and Georgie, luckily, needs some money to get the hell out of Derbyshire because... Let me say that again. Some money to get the hell out of Derbyshire. So the 2 of them decide that they are going to search for Viking gold together. And listen, these 2 come from feuding families, but also they're in this together because they both know that this is the only chance they have to get what they want. So they go on this like unexpected adventure quest. If I know anything about Joanna Lowell, I know this is going to be a very fun, very bright and sparkly romance. And yeah, I can't wait.
Amazing. Okay, so I am going to talk about Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. This is a marriage of convenience, which I love, hockey romance, which you all love. And so what this is we have essentially Alexei is the grumpiest enforcer in the NHL and brutally handsome, but a total jerk. And what happens is there is a bit of a marriage of convenience situation because and it's like one of those things where like he does all the right things when they're out in public. I'm sorry to report everyone, I have no idea what this heroine's name is because it's not in the blurb. So we're just going to have to like go with this lady. Anyway, so she essentially has to get her inheritance. So she's going to marry this guy. And in public, they act like besotted newlyweds, right? So he does all the right things, like acts jealous of her ex. And you know what I mean? And the reason he gets roped into this is because he is marrying her for citizenship. So it seems like, like they both really have a big vested interest in like getting into this marriage. And so in public, they act like besotted newlyweds, but in private, they are at each other's throats. But as time goes on, it turns out that Alexei is maybe a little more caring and protective and generous than his grouchy exterior would have anyone believe, including our heroine. So this is a guy who said he would never fall in love with her, but he is doing an awfully good impression of it. So maybe their marriage of convenience can be a real marriage after all. So that is Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer.
I have another historical that's not set in the Regency in the 19th century. Or in England, rather. I have another historical that's not set in the Regency in England. I want to talk about Savannah Royals by Lindsay Barrett. This one is a Prohibition-era heist romance set in Savannah, filled with all sorts of like sneaky thieves and other delicious things. So by day, Katerina Quinn masquerades as a well-bred lady of Savannah, but at night she runs with a ragtag gang of con artists and thieves. And they set up this sort of plan for her to target this like son of one of the great American dynasties. So Matthew DeMolin is this charming doctor who Kat seduces really by day as a well-bred lady, as thinking that she's going to help her gang get essentially access to this highly exclusive club where they'll be able to mix and mingle with the Rockefellers and the Astors and be able to Robin Hood their way through the room. Unfortunately, she starts to realize that she kind of likes Matthew, and she doesn't want to steal from him, and she doesn't want him to be a mark. She wants him to be the real thing. Of course, the problem is that out on the streets, there's a war brewing between city gangs, and this jewel heist is essential to making sure that all goes off in Kat's favor. So what's she gonna do? There's a little bit of a love triangle here, I think, where one of the heads of one of the gangs is somebody she's kind of had a thing for since childhood. But now there's Matthew, this like elegant, wealthy man who might be tempting her out of crime and into something else.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know.
I think you do know. Okay.
So that's Savannah Royals and by Lindsay Barrett.
Okay. I have one more, and then you have one more. You should do the Ashley Poston.
Yes, you're right. I should.
And then I'll do
Eric,
one after
take that part out.
Sorry, we'll take that part out. Okay, so I think we each have a couple more. So I am going to do
in case you left it in, let me say this. Oh, actually, I have one more too.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I could keep going all day, but okay. I have He's to Die For by Erin Dunn. And in this one, we have another romantic mystery. I love this because, so 29-year-old detective Rav Trivedi is the youngest member of NYPD's homicide squad, and everything is looking great for him. He may be a bit of an outsider in the department. He's Ivy League. He's a gay British man, and he has a real weakness for designer suits, although I watch these movies and all these detectives seem to have nice suits, so I don't think that's a problem for Rav. But he essentially has like a great solve rate, and he's really like rising up through the ranks. So he is assigned to a very high-profile murder of a record executive. So he's like ready for action. He is not going to be distracted, even though this kind of case has TV crews and tabloids and social media all over it. And his number one suspect is a very hot rock star, Sarah. And this man, I'm sad to report, has a clear motive, but no alibi. And I think it is going to be very dangerous for Rav to be falling in love with his number one suspect. But that is exactly what is happening.
But that's not your business, Jen.
That's simply not my business. I am just here to read this adorable book. So He's to Die For by Erin Dunn.
Okay, well, my last book for June is Ashley Poston's new book.
Perfect.
Because listen, Ashley is really great at like these high concept, really fun ideas, and she always figures out how to make them work, which is remarkable to me. This one's called Sounds Like Love, and the heroine of this book, Joni Lark, is one of the most coveted songwriters in music right now. But she has a problem, which is she can't write music right now.
No.
I mean, listen, girl, same. It's rough out here. So she decides she's going to go home to her hometown of Vienna Shores, North Carolina, where like she's been drawing inspiration since childhood for music. So she's going home, she's ready. But when she gets there, everything is changing. Like her best friend is keeping some kind of secret from her. Something's up with her mom. Her like favorite concert venue is closing. And everything is worse, except she hears this melody in her head and she can't quite hear the lyrics, and she's not quite there yet, but she does hear this like very sexy voice that goes along with it. And she can hear in this man's voice that like he is also a musician and he is also feeling empty and like unable to write. And she's pretty sure like he's a figment of her imagination, but this is an Ashley Poston book. So he shows up in Vienna Shores and he's like nothing like the like sweet voice that's in her head. He's like outwardly really arrogant and guarded, and he's there because he also has been sensing this telepathic connection and he wants to end it now because he has to finish this fucking song or else. Except here's the thing, Joni's already heard how wonderful he is inside her head. And so these two are going to have to figure out how they're going to finish this music together.
I love it.
That is Sounds Like Love, the new Ashley Poston book.
Perfect. Okay, so I earlier talked about writing Mr. Right, and now I'm going to finish it off by talking about Writing Mr. Wrong by Kelly Armstrong.
This is a different author.
It is a different author and a different book with a different
premise.
I hope
you all go on tour together.
Yes, exactly. So in this one, listen, I just like it when men have to be restricted to the page. So here it is.
You didn't know that until right now.
Now. Let me think about how to say that. Okay. So in Writing Mr. Wrong, we have debut author Gemma Stanton. She knows romance readers love a bad boy, and she has a perfect prototype for this novel. His name is Mason Moretti. Now, Mason was a high school hockey god turned pro player who broke her heart, and in like a really public way. Like she just had a crush and it was terrible. But so she essentially rejects him. Or like, in this book she's writing, she sort of like fan casts him almost as like a hot-headed Highlander. And she never expected that her readers would find out on live TV when a morning show brings on Mason for like a surprise on the air reunion.
Oh, boy.
This is a problem. Now, Mason is an aging hockey player because, he's probably 34 and so therefore about to leave the business or whatever.
Sure. His back hurts.
Yeah, exactly. He has a rep for being ruthless on the ice and roguish off of it. But when their meet cute goes viral, he proposes that they like sort of build this momentum to like sort of boost up his like sagging kind of celebrity profile in the sport. So their fictional flirting gets a little too real. And Mason realizes that Gemma wants to make him a better man, and he probably deserves that. So this one is Writing Mr. Wrong by Kelly Armstrong.
Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds really cute.
Yeah, and listen, everybody, there are so many, of course, other books by authors we love that are coming out that we will be talking about in coming episodes, right? But these ones just seemed like really fun ones for your spring discoverability buddies.
Put them all on your list, you guys. Yeah, I mean, there are some, I mean, I talked about Ashley, but Emily Henry has a new book coming out. There are re-releases of all the Christina Lauren books coming this year, so it's going to be really fun. Oh, and there's an Allie. We didn't even talk about the fact that Allie Hazelwood is like Beyonce dropping an age gap romance in May, but everybody knows about that. So,
sure. Right.
Enjoy, everybody. We'll probably talk about that in the future.
I am sure that we will. All right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we have so many more books to talk about. There's always new romances coming, but we hope
tell us about your books.
Yeah. Tell us something you're excited about.
There is a link. Correct. I don't know what it is.
That's okay. You are going to put it in show notes. And
we're going to put it in show notes.
Have a book coming out, or if you know of a book coming out by an author you love, then go ahead and fill this out. We are really excited. And I think we did do a better job this time of like incorporating some of these indie kind of self-published romances coming out because of this spreadsheet. So we hope that people will continue to use it so that we can do a great job when we drop our summer reads, which will be books coming out in July, August, and September.
Who has a book coming out in July?
I don't know.
No one.
Nobody I know. Nobody. I mean, somebody important. Yes, that would be your book, These Summer Storms.
That's true. It comes out July 8th. So, anyway, everyone, we love these episodes because they set up our TBR for the next 3 months, is I think how I feel about them. I'm Sarah McLean. I am here with my friend Jen Prokop. We are Fated Mates. You can listen to this podcast every single Wednesday, you lucky ducks, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, here's something fun. If you are a listener of the podcast, which you are if you listen to this episode, you can head over to fatedmates.net/survey and take our listener survey and really help us think through what's to come in season 8. What? Season 8 of this podcast. It shouldn't take you longer than about 10 minutes to fill it out. You can leave us some little fun notes if you'd like. But we'd love to hear from you. So that's at fatedmates.net/survey. If you are just like very excited about the idea of just talking to people about romance novels and learning about new romance novels, may we recommend our Patreon, which is available at patreon.com/fatedmates. That Patreon comes with access to the Fated Mates Discord, where other listeners are hanging out all the time to talk about romance novels 24/7, 365. It's crazy over there, but we love everybody who's over there with us. And we want you to join us there. Otherwise, you can find us online on Instagram, on Threads, and on Blue Sky. Or you can head over anytime to see the full massive list of books that we recommend or that we talked about today on the website at fatedmates.net. Just hit show notes and it'll take you right there. Also, follow us on BookBub, where all of these books will be listed. Follow us on other places.
Just follow us, everybody.
Yeah, Pagebound. Like I said, we're at Pagebound. These will all be on Pagebound. It's exciting. We try to be everywhere. Romance domination. Enjoy, everyone. See you next week.